Make sure to subscribe to the Volume YouTube channel so you can catch all of our shows and get what everybody wants, more of me. My thoughts on what I saw this weekend. First of all, the Rams-49ers has become the best rivalry in the NFL. It's the Ravens-Steelers of 10 years ago. The difference is I think it's a smarter game offensively. You've got two really good quarterbacks. Back then it was Flacco and Big Ben. Now it's Stafford and Jimmy G. And believe it or not, Jimmy G's good. You know, I say this all the time about Jimmy G. He's the opposite of Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins shrinks in primetime. Kirk Cousins shrinks in the 2-minute drill. Kirk Cousins is not a guy I ever trust in the biggest spot against the best team. Jimmy Garoppolo's the opposite. He'll flail in the second quarter, in the third quarter. You get him late in a big game when it matters, he's really good. I mean, people point to the Super Bowl. He led Mahomes for 3 quarters. Yes, he missed on a deep throw. Folks, Michael Jordan missed free throws. Like, these are pro athletes against pro athletes. But I just think it's a great rivalry. You got two of the smartest, if not the smartest, offensive coaches in football. Both teams can be physical. The Niners, it's really entrenched in their culture, the physical run game. I would say, as much as I like the Rams, what concerns me is the Niners and that power physical running game has their number. The Tennessee Titans had their number. You can push the Rams' offensive front around. It's a highly rated offensive front, and it's clever and it's smart, and there's a lot of miles on those tackles. They've been around this game for a long time. But too often in big games, I feel like they get pushed back. Now, it should be noted, this game had much more sudden death urgency feel for the 49ers. They win, they're in. So, and the Niners feel like a playoff team to me. Give me a great coach. Give me a power running game. Give me playmakers on offense. Give me a pass rush. Give me physicality. That is emblematic of playoff teams. It's like, am I surprised the Titans' record is as good as it is, considering Ryan Tannehill's the quarterback and they lost Derrick Henry for a big chunk of the year? Yeah, but they give me so many things that playoff teams do. Smart, physical, great coach, playmakers on both sides of the ball. So the Niners are in. They feel like a playoff team. And once again, Jimmy G in a big spot in that 2-minute drill or in overtime delivers. It's remarkable to me. Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo get more crap than any other quarterbacks in this league. And for the life of me, I can't figure it out. All right, so one of my favorite people in the NFL is Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts. They missed out on the playoffs because they gagged at Jacksonville. Listen, when they went and got Carson Wentz, what were the options? I mean, Phillip Rivers was old. So I thought it was a good move. I still think it's a good move. And if you look at the contract, it can very easily be a 2-year deal. This is not a college draft of note for quarterbacks. Ballard knew that a year ago. Everybody in the NFL front offices knew that a year ago. This would not be a big college draft. So last couple of years, they've picked up young guys. They're basically putting Band-Aids on a problem. They have a great Super Bowl roster, and it's Phillip Rivers to Carson Wentz. There are just some players that their DNA, their football DNA is reckless. They're often big physical players. Sam Darnold, Cam Newton, Carson Wentz. These are not finesse guys. They were the big guys in high school, in college, or a junior college, and they were physically imposing their entire lives. So they're playmakers, and that's Carson Wentz. I mean, there was a play in which an offensive lineman didn't have a lot of help, and Carson Wentz tried to make a play. He was not blindsided. He tried to make a play. They were already trailing, and they were going to lose, but it was so Carson Wentz, it was painful. He just doesn't have a governor on this engine. He plays one way. It's all out. And those guys are they're what baseball loves right now, strikeout or home run. That doesn't work in the NFL. I mean, Matt Stafford's got his issues, but he can go on 8, 10, 12, 15 straight completion streaks. He is really, really accurate. With Carson Wentz, what were their options? I still think Carson Wentz was the move. They can get out of the contract. It's not punitive after next year. In that division, Carson Wentz is still more physically gifted, I believe, than Ryan Tannehill or anybody Houston has right now. So they'll probably run it back with Carson Wentz. But this is the downside to having a playmaker at quarterback. All right, a lot of coaches are going to get fired. Mike Zimmer is out in Minnesota. Vic Fangio is out in Denver. Matt Nagy is out in Chicago. Reportedly, David Culley in Houston could be in trouble, and Matt Rule in Carolina could be trouble. You know, my wife used to work in HR, and she always said, you get yourself fired. That's not necessarily true in the NFL, although if you look at key decisions throughout the course of the year, these guys didn't do themselves favors. But none of them have a great quarterback yet, and that's why they're getting fired or potentially getting fired. And they're all getting fired for different reasons. Matt Rule's getting fired because he has a really impatient billionaire owner, and he rolled the dice on Sam Darnold. David Culley's getting fired because he wasn't a big-time hire in the first place, and maybe they all along planned a one and done. Vic Fangio's getting fired because his quarterback isn't getting better. Drew Lock had a pretty good weekend, but over the course of the year, he's not elevating the quarterback position and the offense. It's a pop-gun offense with way too much talent to be that. Mike Zimmer, it feels like they're trending in the wrong direction. He doesn't have a great locker room presence. He's not beloved by players, and they're going in the wrong direction. Matt Nagy, many people feel he's smart, engaging, good guy, but did he butcher the Andy Dalton, Justin Fields platoon? So they're all getting fired for different reasons. In the end, though, it's very similar on one thread. None of them have an A quarterback. Herm Edwards told me this years ago, I wouldn't be coaching college and I wouldn't be broadcasting if you gave me a top 7-8 quarterback in the NFL. The worst team in the league and the most hopeless team is the New York Giants. And I said this last week on Fox Sports, is that I can make an argument that the Jets were at least getting better at the end of the year, specifically Zach Wilson, the young quarterback. I can make an argument. I mean, the Lions beat the Packers. They've got some nice skill people offensively. They need to shore up the defense, go heavy in that in free agency in the draft, but there's a pulse there. I can make an argument the Houston Texans found Davis Mills. There's a reason to believe in a weak college quarterback draft, you may have found your guy. Go get 7, 8, 9 new starters in the draft. You may have found your guy. Davis Mills can make a lot of throws. The New York Giants are the exception. I don't see a way out. Joe Judge, there's arguments to be made. He's lost the locker room. They don't have a quarterback nor a succession plan. Dave Gettleman butchered too many free agent signings and draft picks. And are we sure the Mara family are great owners, or they just hit a home run on Tom Coughlin and Eli Manning? To me, that desperation, especially because it's been so many years of futility, that desperation points to the Giants trying to solve a lot of their issues with one big swing, and that big swing could be Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson wants a new coach and would prefer an offensive coach. I was told this weekend a very interesting story by somebody over the last 5 years that was in the scouting department for the Seattle Seahawks. And we were talking about the situation in Seattle, and I said, I like John Snyder, but they have whiffed on so many first-round picks. In the last 4 drafts, they've hit on a punter and DK Metcalf, and I think the latter's a tad overrated at times. And the source told me, he said, I like John Snyder and Pete Carroll, but Snyder too often deferred to the coach and not the scouting department, and it's cost them dearly. I think Seattle has a lot of issues. I think they have the weakest roster in their division. I think they have a quarterback who does not have a consistent run game to support him. I still think DK Metcalf has a number one wide receiver body, but is inconsistent. I think they have a lot of problems in Seattle. O-line needs upgrading. Dwayne Brown had a bad year. Cornerbacks are bottom 10 units in the NFL. So many issues. I think Russell Wilson wants a new coach, and he won't say it publicly. And I do believe, and Jay Glazer reported this, it's a keep your eye on the situation in Seattle. I think Seattle's Pete Carroll is too loyal to Ken Norton. I think the schemes defensively feel outdated. How many offensive coordinators can they go through and offensive line coaches? So I think if you ask Russell Wilson what he wants, it's a new guy at the top. And 70-year-old coach or franchise quarterback. I think the decision is very easy. Will John Snyder, who has deferred to Pete Carroll on so many drafts, have the guts to lay it out there, strongly encourage or advise the owner and the ownership group to do that? But I just don't think you can run it back if you're Seattle. I don't think you can run it back. And Russell Wilson is aspirational. He's told people that I know he has no interest staying in Seattle if this is the trend. He doesn't like the current drafts. He doesn't love the offensive line. He doesn't love the lack of a consistent running game, and all of these are true.